methyl salicylate that penetrates into the skin and gets to work in the bloodstream fast. You quickly feel its de-heating action for muscular aches and pains and temporary relief from minor pains of arthritis and rheumatism. Get greaseless, stainless mentholatum deep heating rub.
Big colds? Little colds. Mentholatum ointment works in seconds to open stuffy nose, relieves mild chest cold tightness for hours. Mentholatum in a vaporizer eases congestion and coughing. To relieve cold miseries, get mentholatum ointment.
Back again at Planet Bowl as we move into the second semifinal. This is Bill Aziz from El Paso, Texas. 6-footer, 190 pounds on 11. And he has a strike.
Beautiful break on the 4.
Now here's Jim St. John, 32 years old, 5'8", 132 pounds. One of the smaller men on tour. You'd have to agree to that 6'5" Billy Randall.
Well, in this game, it's not how big or how small you are. It's how you swing and roll that ball.
Or how young or how old, huh? And Jim St. John comes
You
back.
can see the power that little man gets on that bowling ball. He's been one of the outstanding and most consistent players on the tour, both last year and this year.
There's a pretty sight. Pair of strikes, one by each.
Both of them are live for that $10,000.
Looks good. I'm anxious to present that check to somebody. For the first perfect 300 game rolled on our telecast, $10,000.
Beautiful.
And
we're liable to see it this game.
10 more. Jim St. John. Bill
Aziz. Only needs 10 now.
Only 10. And Bill Aziz now, looking for a double. See some of the crowd here in the Planet Bowl. It's an overcast day in Midwest City, Oklahoma. I'd say about 48
Down
degrees.
A little wide.
Ooh. He averted some trouble, didn't he?
It looked like he got away from him, Chris.
Now he has to cover the 1, 2, 4. Is this a difficult one to cover?
Chris, when you're bowling good, they're all easy, and when you're bowling bad, they're all tough. But this one shouldn't be.
Fairmaker shows how it should be done with that arrow.
Any difficulty here if he can maintain that same line he's been playing throughout the tournament.
Perfect. So it's a spare for Bill Aziz in the second frame.
Bill Aziz throws a full roller, Chris. That means where the ball tracks between the thumb and the fingers, while Jim St. John throws a semi-roller. So contrasting styles here. Looks pretty confident on lane 11.
The 4-pin. Bill is married, no children. He's going to win at least $1,000 as he moves here in the second semifinal.
That's always a nice feeling, Chris, to no matter how bad you play it, know you're going to get $1,000.
Doggone right. Because the expenses traveling can be quite enormous. And you fellas go from city to city each week.
Every week, Chris. $300 to $400 a week is the
amount. Is that what you figure?
Yes.
Boy, that can, you can have a deficit in a hurry if you don't cash.
It's nice to get to that pay window. That's the reason why.
Well, you do, Billy. Jim St. John. Ooh.
Oh!
There, he's got it. He's alive. He has 3 in a row, a turkey.
Chris, I say 300 to 400. Some towns like Chicago, naturally, it takes a little bit more money there. The hotels and so forth are higher than a town like Oklahoma City.
That's right. And there you see Jim St. John with 3 in a row. Aziz 39 for the second with a spare up in third. This is St. John on 11.
And already he has a 21-pin lead. He's swinging. A little bit too wide for lane 11.
2, 4, 5, 8. Some 60 feet away. Well, there goes the opportunity at this point to give $10,000 to a man that rolls a perfect game.
I think that'd be a nice feeling, Chris, to even just to present the check.
It would. And the spare maker shows you how to get the bucket.
Rolling cross. Converts it
Wonderful.
beautifully. Jim is a real cool performer.
How many bowlers started here a few days ago?
96.
96. Here's Aziz with a spare working for him in the third, shooting on 12 in the fourth frame, trailing.
It's coming in beautifully. Powerful ball.
Wasn't that powerful?
Most of the boys have been playing around the 9th or 10th board, around that second arrow, pretty straight down, Chris, the ball breaking in the last 5-6 feet.
It's been a wonderful tournament with the local tournament director, Henry Brilliant, and his staff doing a fine job.
He's done a terrific promotion here, and the local proprietors, Mr. Roy Hall and Luther Holman, have had beautiful conditions.
Looking for a double, Bill Aziz.
He's got it, Chris.
Yeah. And he is not dead by any means. Bill Aziz with a double. St. John, 76 to the third with a spare up in the fourth, leading by 7 pins. We'll be right back with the rest of the second semifinal match on Professional Bowlers Tour. And now a word from Brill Cream Hairdressing.
He's a quiet man, not showy or loud. He doesn't have to be. People know he's important just by looking at him. He's a quiet man. He uses Brill Cream, the quiet hairdressing. Brill Cream's quiet because it's natural. So natural only you know it's there. Never shouts of grease or drying alcohol. Brill Cream contains nature's own ingredients. Naturally light, naturally pure, naturally clean. Brill Cream's so natural, so quiet, only you know it's there. He's a quiet man. He uses Brill Cream, the quiet hairdressing. Brill Cream. A little dab will do you.
And here we go again in the second semifinal from Midwest City, Oklahoma Live. Jim St. John has now only a 7-pin lead by virtue of the double scored by Bill Aziz. There's Bill Aziz. Looking right at you.
Beautiful. Jim knows he needs to come back with 2 or 3 in a row because he's down in count with that 6-pin count.
He has now 4 strikes and a spare in the second semifinal with 96 to the fourth. Strike working for him in the fifth. He's getting ready to shoot in the 6th frame on 11. Aziz has that double work.
Beautiful.
Boy, didn't he turn that right at the line? There's
Really got a stroke.
a double for Jim St. John. And now Bill Aziz, who has a pair working for him, shooting in the 6th frame. The winner will meet Glenn Allison in the $5,000 final. $5,000 to the winner, $2,500 for second.
It's a key ball here for Bill Aziz.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
Chris, there's a point there where a lucky break can mean an awful lot.
in another game, breaks are important. Arnold Palmer and Gary Player meet top professionals each weekend in the unique ABC TV series Challenge Golf on most of these ABC stations. The 8-pin.
Hold it.
Ooh.
Gave a few little nervous moments there.
Yeah, we got a big smile out of Bill Aziz. Only after he covered it, right?
Not before. Had he been able to get a lucky break there, Chris, it would have kept his momentum going naturally with the string of strikes. Now he needs to start all over again with Jim now having a 17-pin lead.
Trailing by 17, Bill Aziz of El Paso, Texas. There it is.
Now it cost him 21 pins there, so...
That's right. Jim St. John back off the bench now. Has a double working for him with 96 through the fourth. He's stroking in the 7th frame. Billy, next week it's the PBA Dallas Open at the Cotton Bowl Palace in one of my favorite cities, Dallas.
Mine too, Chris. Be nice to head down to Big D.
Oh, that's 7 pin. Still shaking.
Jim swinging lane 12.
There you see on the right Bob Qualick of Detroit, and on the left, George Howard of the same city. Two fine professional bowlers whom you'll be hearing from following the second semifinal on our weekly round table. 4 top men competing here in the semifinals. The man that finished 5th and an alternate was All-Star champion Dick Weber. Look at that shot. Wonderful.
Doesn't change expression very much, Chris, whether he makes a strike or gets a split, makes a spare, it's all pretty well the same.
As Jim looks at the score sheet, we might too. We see St. John with 145 through the 6th, the spare up in the 7th, Aziz 128 through the 6th with a strike up.
Still that 17-pin margin. Better hold tight here.
Ooh, this could be an opening for Bill Aziz in the second semifinal.
It's the opening, Chris, if he can just throw that strike now.
Of course, Jim St. John will be trying for that 4-6-7 spare maker, indicating
I'm sure he'll be just going for 2.
Yes.
Count is an important factor.
that is highly recommended, right, Billy?
Always on a split of the 4-6, 7-10, 8-10, anytime it's straight across, the bowlers will invariably go for 1 or the sure 2, whatever the case may be.
The average bowler might remember that bit of advice. It should be very helpful to them. There you see Bill Aziz, looking for a double, 128 through the 6th.
If he can get this strike, he takes the lead.
Oh, everything but the 4-pin.
Still got a very close match, Chris. It's only a 3-pin difference.
Right, and there's a big difference in finishing 3rd and 4th or finishing 1st and 2nd. It's extremely important in these semifinals as Jim St. John is carefully studying the score sheet. Capacity crowd here at the Planet Bowl in Midwest City, Oklahoma. Say, Billy, they got a few oil wells working around here, haven't they?
Beautiful sight. I wished I had one of them.
Jim St. John with the open one has 171, and Aziz has 148 through the 7th with a spare up in the 8th, now shooting the 9th frame on lane 11.
He's out a little bit wide.
The 2, 4, 5. Incidentally, Billy, anytime you come to Oklahoma, you always think of Bud Wilkinson. And former players like Billy Vessels and a boy like Joe Don Looney with the Sooners. Great state, great sports followers here. Two, 4, 5. Hasn't.
Isn't Ralph Terry the Yankee pitcher from
Yes.
Oklahoma,
He
too?
most certainly is. Allie Reynolds. Oh, you could go right down the line. There are just so many of them. Jim St. John, 171 through the 8th, and you see Aziz with 165 and a spare up in the 9th.
Right now, Jim St. John hopes he can do a little pitching of his own here. Beautiful break there. I guess after leaving that 4-6, he didn't want to come in too high again, Chris.
No, now he'll move over to 11. There you see the story. The strike up for St. John in the 9th, the spare for Aziz in the 9th. The winner will meet Glenn Allison in the $5,000 first prize final.
Remembering that 4-6, I'm sure he won't go high again, Chris. Oh, he's swinging it wide. In fact, too wide.
He has a sleeper behind the 2, the 8.
Playing a little conservative there, he left himself with a most difficult spare.
Spare maker with the arrow, showing you how it should be done, as you see both pins.
But he covered it beautiful.
Didn't he, though?
Put the pressure on Bill Aziz, who now needs a double in the 10th.
Jim St. John has earned $3,450 so far this year. A little later on, we'll show you the money winners, the top 10 in the Professional Bowlers Association.
Incidentally, Chris, bowling is quite popular in the St. John family. His wife, Dee, is quite a good bowler herself.
Yes. Didn't that one come in beautifully? Few throws make it look so easy.
On our good days, Chris.
Well, when you travel week by week to these PBA tournaments, I seldom see anybody roll too poorly, believe me. Bill Aziz now.
Here's the most interesting moment in any match. The final frame when a bowler can win it with 2 strikes.
Ooh, and it's a 10-pin.
He had it there.
Oh, boy.
I thought he played it perfect, Chris. He'd been high twice, leaving the 4-pin, and
Jim St. John sort of breathing
a sigh of relief.
easily now. Uh-huh. Quite a fella. So is Bill Aziz, who's going for the 10-pin now. Has it?
By virtue of Bill's game, he's going to finish 3rd ahead of Bill Hardwick, who had the 182 in the first match.
So there was a difference of $250.
Might be termed a good break here for Jim St. John with Bill leaving that 10-pin. You remember at Denver Open, Jim bowled perfectly there, leaving a solid 10 to cost him the match.
See, that was against J.B. Solomon, wasn't it?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And look at there, Chris.
Hey.
What a break.
You could only have that 1 frame ahead.
1 frame earlier.
1 frame earlier. And we had a wonderful game here.
204 for Bill Aziz, 211 for Jim St. John.
Only 7 pins in the second semifinal separating the two. We'll be right back with more of today's exciting tournament on Professional Bowlers Tour. Say, want to score higher when you go bowling? Then let AMF show you how to get the ball rolling.
In bowling, often the difference between a strike and a spare lies not with the bowler, but with the ball he's using. And that's why so many thousands of bowlers are going for the new M-Flight bowling ball. It's the ball that gives you more striking power, more pinpoint power to spare. You get more out of bowling with an M-Flight because more goes into the making of each M-Flight. You see, most balls are made in just 2 parts, an inner core and an outer cover. But the new M-Flight is made in a special 3-part method with an inner core, unique outer core of hard rubber, and an extra tough cover stock. All 3 parts are pressed together by AMF's new process to form a springier ball. A ball that has better balance for truer roll and control. More explosive power. More pin mix. See the 1963 line of M-Flight bowling balls at bowling centers and wherever quality sporting goods are sold. Remember, AMF means the finest.
This is Jim McKay inviting you to watch ABC's Wide World of Sports each week over most of these ABC stations. We'll take you all over this country and the world for outstanding sporting events wherever they take place. This series has traveled to 16 foreign nations on 5 continents to bring you the tops in sports throughout the year. From the United States-Russia track meets, whether in Moscow or this country, to Grand Prix auto racing in Europe, to America's national championships, from swimming to gymnastics, this is ABC's Wide World of Sports, the program that really lives up to its name.
Well, did you fellas bring the checkers? Oh, excuse me, this is the round table time, isn't it? I'd like to introduce the man that led the qualifiers here at the Planet Bowl in Midwest City, Oklahoma. A fellow from Detroit who last year won the Niagara Falls Open and the Las Vegas Open, popular George Howard. And here's another fellow from Detroit, consistently high along the way, and a wonderful stylist, Bob Qualick.
Thank you, Chris. Well, George, I think there's one question that we're all kind of trying to get from you. You led the qualifying here with a terrific 217 average. What I want to know is what happened this morning when you got out there and shot that beautiful 530.
You had to ask me that, huh, Bob? No, I think yesterday that I was bowling so well that I could have beat the world. But today I couldn't beat my wife. So
well, your wife's not a bad bowler, though. So things have been going pretty good. What do you think about the match so far?
Well, I got to take Glenn. There's only one reason I got to take him, because he beat me this morning, and he hit the pocket very well, and even on the lane shoot, he shot very well in the qualifying. So I think that Glenn's going to come out of here and give St. John a real good battle.
Well, George, I'm sorry. I can't agree with you. I think I'm going to go along with Jimmy because Jimmy's been throwing that ball very, very good, too. And I think he's throwing the ball with a little more authority right here. He's got the ball finishing very well, and he's throwing the pins around like they're toothpicks.
I have to agree with you, but since he threw the one bad pitcher on the lane 12, 11, he's going to be a little shaky, right? So,
I thought, for a while there he was going to get the $10,000 where he started out.
Oh, he started out beautifully. And then he lost that swishing seventh thing, which was a very good ball after he had that double. So I like the way he's throwing. He's got very good speed, and I think the ball's finishing real well for him.
Well, Glenn, during qualifying, he shot both 200 games on the pair, and even though when he's bowling his first match, he only shot 190, I just look for Glenn to come back real strong in this thing here.
Well, I've looked up my notes, and Jimmy St. John also shot 200s on this pair, so...
well,
I think it's going to be quite interesting to see what the outcome
I
is
think
going
it's
to be.
going to be a good show. I can see that.
It certainly is, and even though in the first semifinal, which Glenn won over Bill Hartwig, the scores were not high, competition was constantly close. I was very impressed with Bill Hartwig.
Oh, I was too. Bill's done very, very well. He made the finals last week and come right back again this week. And it's quite interesting. I'm sure you pointed out to the folks how he uses his baseball grip.
Yes.
And it was quite interesting to watch Bill bowl. I think he's done a very commendable job.
And he crossed right next to me all the way through the tournament, and he was throwing a beautiful, heavy rolling ball. And what I mean by that is when it was getting the pins, he had a pocket a mile wide. Anywhere closer, he was getting a strike. And the only thing that happened here, I know it's his first time on television probably, and it had a little difference to do with his roll of his ball. But even then, he was still around the pocket.
The gully to get this high, a 21-year-old boy, that's quite an achievement in itself.
That's right. It's very, very good.
A lot of confidence. And we're trying to get right along. A lot more bowlers are getting that confidence and coming along. So,
Say, we were talking, Billy and I, when we had a moment, about the cost of going on the PBA tour, you professionals, and how important it was to get to the pay window.
Well, that's right, Chris. Well, naturally, we're all trying to make the finals, but if we can't make the finals, we're always looking for that shot to get into at least the top 24, so they'll carry us on to the next tournament. Next week won't be so quite so bad.
Sometimes you have to eat rather skimpily.
sometimes maybe you don't get to eat at all, Chris.
Money bags. In your case, I don't think you have to worry. Bob, you're always there.
Even though I lost the first match this morning, at least I had a shot at it. I'd rather lose the first match right along as to not be there at all.
So you're an Allison man now, and you're a Jim St. John.
That's right, Chris.
I'd like to thank you, Bob. Nice
Okay,
to
Chris.
see you all.
It's a pleasure being
Real
here.
pleasure. Bob Kwolek and George Howard, congratulations again on being the qualifying leader.
Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, in a minute, we'll have the start of the climatic final match between Jim St. John and Glenn Allison. What cigarette scores 300 with smokers? It's Kent, and here's why.
Have you reached the point with your present cigarette where those puffs occasionally taste too strong, too harsh, or too rough? Well, then now's the time to change to Kent with a new micronite filter.
With Kent, you get away from cigarettes that taste too strong, too harsh, too rough. Yes, you treat your taste kindly with Kent. Kindly? Because Kent with the new micronite filter refines away harsh flavor, refines away rough taste, for the mildest taste of all. None can compare with the mild taste of Kent. And no wonder, the finer the filter, the milder the taste. So discover how good smoking can be, free from harsh flavor, free from rough taste. Treat your taste kindly with Kent.
Treat your taste kindly with Kent. Smoke Kent, the micronite filter cigarette.
Back again live at the Planet Bowl in Midwest City, Oklahoma. Chris Schenkel and Billy Whaloo. And Billy, Glenn Allison back on the scene, and Jim St. John is right there.
Incidentally, Chris, Glenn won the toss, elected to start on 12 so that he could finish on 11, which he seemed to like better of the two.
Which means that actually when they start, it'll be St. John on 11. Here he is now, Jim St. John of Chicago, with his first practice shot.
It looks like Glenn has been having a little more trouble on lane 12, while Jim St. John has had a little more trouble on 11.
See, it was interesting to hear George Howard pick Glenn Allison and Bob Kwolek go with Jim St. John, and both had their reasons, and some of them were bona fide, I'm sure. So I hope they're at home. You probably have a favorite going into this final match here in Oklahoma, and it's worth $5,000 to the winner, $2,500 to the man that finishes second. We've already determined that Bill Aziz gets $1,250 for finishing third, and Bill Hardwick of California, with his 182, getting $1,000 for being fourth. The handshake, and Billy, This is for the big money.
This is for the big money. $2,500 difference, Chris.
That is a big difference. What's he do that for with the towel on the sole of his shoe?
Jim likes to get good traction at the line. He has a long slide. He rubs the dust off with the towel.
See, there's Dick Weber to his left with a PBA shirt on.
He's the alternate here today.
Yes. Yeah, the two of you got to know each other pretty well in Kansas City at the All-Star again, didn't you?
Anytime you're bowling that close to Dick Weber, you know him pretty good. That's a good seat.
Their first shot of the final.
Of course, Dick Weber and I are former teammates. We bowled together for 2 years and both live in St. Louis, so I see enough of him, but I saw too much of him that night.
Jim St. John sees too many pins up, the 3, 6, and 10. Didn't like it. From the left side of the approach, he'll try to do what the spare maker tells you to do.
Beautiful cover.
Isn't it? Looks like to me just a perfect hit.
Jim has been having a little trouble the last 4 or 5 shots with lane 11. Coming in high and then alternately light.
Here's Glenn Allison, who downed Bill Hardwick by 11 pins, 193 to 182. His first shot on 12.
A little more speed on 12. Left the 10.
We've seen a few 10s on 12, haven't we?
The boys are swinging the lane a little bit more. Coming in behind the head pin, Chris, sometimes causes you to leave that 10.
A little unusual for a fellow, we're speaking of Glenn Allison, to win consecutively match game championships as he did in the Southern match game title.
He likes that Southern match game championship. The last 2 years in a row he's won it.
And he marks to the spare in the first frame, so things are even up now as Glenn moves over to the lane that he wants to finish on. Having won the toss, electing to start on 12, he'll finish on 11.
Incidentally, Glenn is still looking for his first double here this afternoon. He had the 193 clean. He was in the pocket on 8 of the shots, but failed to get the double.
His footwork is sort of interesting.
Solid.
Very solid, Billy.
He exudes a lot of confidence on lane 11.
And there you see the 20 for Allison to the first of the strike up. St. John to Staven will have to strike here in the second. Shooting on 12.
You might call this the battle of the little men.
Mm-hmm. Here are the 2, 4, 5, and 8 once more here in Oklahoma.
Jim seemed to pick up a little speed midway through that first game that he bowled against Bill Aziz, and here we notice the spare maker show you the proper way to convert the 2, 4, 5, 8.
Are you aware that you're making a speed change when this happens to you, Billy?
No, not immediately, Chris. So much so that he's even off balance at the line now.
That's a bad break for Jim St. John.
Yes, it is. It puts him down by 16 pins already.
There you see St. John, 24 through the second. About to shoot in the third. Allison has 20 through the first with a strike up.
It oftentimes happens, Chris, when you're trying to get more speed to make the ball hold the line. You find yourself rushing with your feet. There he was. Beautiful shot.
10 pin.
Can't be any more perfect. Of course, when you get 9, it's still left something to be desired. Notice here how he moves to the left and will bowl across the lane, the same angle that the spare maker shows. Directly into the 10.
Just follow that arrow. Jim St. John with the spare here at the Planet Bowl. Glenn Allison, who is in the lead, looking for a double now. 20 through the first. St. John, 24 through the second. Spare up.
Glenn, a picture of concentration here. He's going for that big double. And he got it.
Boy, he really powered those off. the lane, didn't he?
That's, of course, key ball. When a man opens, Chris, invariably your opponent will come back with a double, and, of course, that leaves him now 26 pins in the lead.
Next week, it's the Cotton Bowling Palace in Dallas, Texas. To Curtis Sanford.
My old
Staff
partner.
ready for you fellas to come into town to compete.
He's labeled those last
Another
three.
one. You call those powerhouse strikes?
I don't see how you can get any more power, Chris.
I don't either. And there they are, as big as can be. Glenn Allison with 3 in a row. St. John with a spare up in the third, 24th of the second, now shooting in the fourth frame.
We used an expression, hitting like a sledgehammer, and I'd say those last three really did.
Pretty sound, too, isn't it?
Here goes Jim.
He is not as consistent as he was in the semifinal. Seems a little erratic, little nerve, maybe.
When you're having trouble making the speed adjustment, Chris, you try to cut the speed down, and then you're a little too slow.
He's expressionless, Glenn Allison.
He's a very cool performer, too, Chris.
Here's something that indicates the way in which the 610 should be covered. The spare maker. Perfect. Billy, now you'll start in Dallas on Thursday.
Well, the Pro-Amateur will be played on Wednesday, Chris, and then, of course, the tournament proper starts on Thursday morning.
And then 2 weeks from today, we go down to a city in Texas that you're familiar with, really familiar.
My hometown, Houston.
Mm-hmm. Another 2-4-5-8. Jim St. John of Chicago, Illinois, who in the second semifinal won by 7 pins over Bill Aziz, a 211 to a 204. Last time he had the 2-4-5-8. He picked the 2-5.
Better hurry.
He did it again.
He did it again.
Did it again. Bad break. Second open. Of course, just can't recover from errors in the game of bowling, Billy.
Not when a man is striking like Glenn Allison is, Chris. Give him 2 opens like that, it, of course, charges Glennie up, and he's working on 3 now. He should throw this one very free, and it might be about the end of the match if he can throw 2 more here.
Going for 4.
Got a nice break there.
He did.
Counting the open that Jim had in the last frame, there's 53 pin difference.
53.
So always a nice lead, but there's still enough frames that Jim can pick up the difference.
Straw Glenn can open too, you know.
I'm very well acquainted with that.
Glenn today is wearing that yellow PBA shirt. Jim St. John, powder blue. And we look at the score, and St. John is a lot bluer at looking at it, 66 through the 5th, and Allison is out in the lead, now working on a spare, shooting on 11.
He looks... Boy, he's got a lot of confidence on lane 11.
Sure has. Capacity crowd as Allison is in the lead. We'll be right back with the rest of the final match of today's exciting tournament on Professional Bowlers Tour. Now, an Olympic champion to tell us about the breakfast of champions. Bob Richards for today's Wheaties.
Hello. I'm sure you know with me that there are many things in the American heritage that are as much a part of us as the air that we breathe. Such things as New England churches, the Shenandoah Valley of Virginia, the broad prairies, Rocky Mountains, Town Hall, apple pie, baseball. All are symbols of this great and wonderful country we call America. I'm proud to say that there is something else in the folklore, the symbolism of the heritage of America. The grand breakfast of champions, Wheaties. If I were to ask you what this conjures up in your mind, I'm sure you'd say all kinds of meanings. Jack Armstrong, champions, for others just plain goodness. But whatever it is, for over 30 years now, Wheaties has nourished and helped bring to adulthood young men and women who have become part of strong America. You might say that Wheaties is truly American, all American. Wheaties, breakfast of champions.
Back again at the Planet Bowl in Midwest City, Oklahoma, right near Oklahoma City, which covers 620 square miles, the city itself. Did you know that, Billy?
I didn't know the exact mileage.
And right in those city limits, there are derricks. And at the base of those derricks, there are pumps working.
Be tough to have one of those in your
And
front
all the
yard.
ground is that black gold. Jim St. John.
Trying to get back in this match. Almost another disaster. People on the side there couldn't see that the 7-pin was still standing.
That's right. He automatically has picked up a great deal of rooting interest from a lot of the spectators in this jammed Planet Bowl. Crowds have been wonderful here these few days that the tournament has been underway.
Throughout the entire tournament. Hold it, Jim.
Jim is not on his game in this final, but he's assured of $2,500 because the winner gets 5 and the man that finishes second.
That always salves the wounds a little bit, Chris.
Yes.
But he's still not out of the wood. It's, as long as you say on paper, anything can happen. You never know when you're going to run into a split or two. The other bowler gets 3 or 4 in a row.
Mm-hmm.
Still wide.
And again on the same lane.
Of course, he plays a little bit more hook than Glenn or Bill Hardwick or Bill Aziz, and he's swinging lane 11, and it's been a pretty tough lane to hook throughout the tournament. You've had to play it in pretty tight.
Last 2 times he picked the 2 and 5 and the 4-8. Glenn Allison looking at the score sheet. Jim St. John.
He's going a little more direct in this time. Almost chopped.
Look at him walk away. There's a wonderful competitor, Jim St. John, a member of the Professional Bowlers Association, headed by its executive director, Eddie Elias.
We have another PBA tournament member that was here for the tournament, Jim Deskin, who is the boxing commissioner for Nevada, where they have the world middleweight title fight next week at Las Vegas.
A variety of people, members of the PBA, professionals, come from all walks of life, don't they?
Glenn's wide on 12.
Left the 5-pin.
Of course, at this point, he can afford to be conservative, and as long as he doesn't get those big splits.
You know, ABC TV brings you a full day of sports entertainment Saturdays over most of these stations. First, there's Challenge Golf, starring Arnold Palmer, with Gary Player, then the popular Professional Bowlers Tour, followed by the program that really lives up to its name, ABC's Wide World of Sports. As the 5-pin is lowered by Glenn Allison. And on Saturday nights, it's the Fight of the Week, followed by Make That Spare on ABC TV, America's #1 network for sports. And, of course, you know that World Championship fight you were talking about is on ABC's Fight of the Week.
That's right, Chris, next Saturday night.
Beauty. He loves 11.
He
wants to finish on 11.
Yes, he does, Chris. Glenn likes a lane where he has to roll the ball and play it in a tight line toward the pocket.
Say, Glenn at one time had a wide sweeping hook, didn't he?
Oh, yes. Glenn's a teammate of mine, and he used to throw the ball from left to right. Now he's going pretty straight.
He was like Bill Lillard almost, wasn't he?
Yes, most of the boys have converted to that in recent years, Chris.
Jim just can't do anything quite right.
As we said earlier, Chris, when it's all good, it's wonderful, and when it's bad, it's all bad, and that's what's happened to Jim St. John here this afternoon. Margin now of 58 pins and 3 frames to go. It's what we call about out of the wood. Jim St. John has a possible 181, and should Glenn Allison open in both the 9th and the 10th frames, he would still come up with a 195 or 6, depending on the count.
Right. Next week, the PBA Dallas Open live on ABC television from Curtis Sanford's Cotton Bowling Palace in Dallas.
He got it back that time.
You know, we spoke of how much it takes to travel on tour for you PBA persons. You know, last year, Jim St. John, on the summer tour, he took his entire family on tour. It's amazing, isn't it?
He has 2 children, too, and when you're traveling with 4, the expenses mount up. At this point, Glenn looks like he just wants to stay behind the foul line, Chris, and that's really all he has to do. Must be a nice feeling.
Certainly is, because I recall, Billy, any game or match you've been in, it's always been nip and tuck, and you have to sweat right down to the wire. It isn't often they get out and have somewhat of a commanding lead.
It certainly isn't, Chris, in a one-game match especially. I'd like to have that feeling one of these days pretty soon.
You will. After all, this is only our 6th stop on the exciting national tour, PBA Opens. You were on 3 of the first 5, finishing 2nd twice.
Well, God willing, I'd like to be around for a few more years. I'm graying a little bit, but...
Aren't we all?
Aren't we all? That's right.
When you needed a strike and had one go like that, that would gray you up a little bit, too. You notice Bob Kwolek, George Howard, and Dick Weber all looking up toward the score sheet, figuring things out, and now you can figure it out.
Looks like Glenn has got his 3rd PBA tournament wrapped up.
Another powerhouse by Glenn Allison, native of California, now bowling out of St. Louis. Incidentally, we talked about size. He's 5'7" and weighs 155. So he is not really a big man, but makes big strikes.
He really gets low at the line. He has terrific power in that arm swing. You notice that high follow-through. Terrific pin action.
The man that's been 4th twice, in 61 and 62 on the money-winning list, Glenn Allison, performing very beautifully here and rolling a 228 over Jim St. John.
Jim has a possible 181, which would... Actually, at this point, it doesn't mean anything in the standings because he's automatically 2nd.
Automatically gets $2,500. This man from Chicago, 32 years old, Jim St. John. Still very careful and wipes off the soles of those shoes.
Jim is only 32 years old, I think, and of course you're going to see him for many years to come. He doesn't tire, he doesn't wear himself out. He's a very smooth stylist.
And you know, this is the 2nd time.
Look at here. Oh, I thought we were going to get a break.
2nd time in 6 telecasts that he has been on, having finished 3rd in Denver. He's won $3,450 thus far this year, and today he'll add $2,500 to that total.
He skipped a tournament last week at St. Louis to be on Make That Spare, but the other 5 tournaments he has played in, and he has made the round of 16 each of the 5 weeks.
Nice round of applause, Jim St. John, and a happy winner, Glenn Allison, with a 228, is the $5,000 winner here at the Planet Bowl in Midwest City, Oklahoma. All of this coming to you live from the Sooner State. Well, Billy,
Chris, it's been a pleasure working with you again.
Well, it's always nice to have you up here experting for us, and of course, I know you enjoy it, but you would much prefer being down there in Glenn Allison's place.
Very definitely so. But when I can't be, it's nice to be up here with you working over the ABC microphones.
Well, thank you, Billy. And now let's take a look at that score sheet of the final match worth $5,000 to Glenn Allison, a 228 to a 170.
Chris, the story was pretty well told. In the 2nd frame, Jim left the bucket, the 2-4-5-8, and failed to come up. Charged Glenn Allison up. He went right to the lead with a turkey, and he had a 53-pin lead then. Jim St. John again left the bucket, again failed to come up. And the match, for all intents and purposes, was pretty well over, and Glenn marked the rest of the way out. Jim St. John found the range again in the 9th and 10th frames, but it was pretty well over in about the 7th or 8th frame, and the margin being 58 pins.
You know, Billy, we often talk about the various aspects of competition in each of the sports. And I recall way back in Paramus, New Jersey, and talking bowling to you about 10 years ago, you know, and to some of the top stars. They impressed upon me that bowling is a game where you cannot make a mistake, because if you do, you can never recover. You never get that shot back. Whereas they were saying in golf, sometimes when you make an error with a stroke, you can walk a little and maybe come up with a sensational shot, and make up what you lost in the previous stroke.
Chris, I think you've hit the nail on the head. If all the arguments could be settled, I think that would be the one factor that would settle which was most difficult, golf or bowling. Because in golf, you have that chance to recover anywhere from tee to green. In bowling, if you make 3 strikes in a row, 3 perfect shots, but as Jim St. John did, leave the bucket and miss it, you've blown in one frame the 19 pins that you've made with 3 perfect shots.
No wonder you recommend getting out and practicing.
I wish I had a wedge shot here that you could pick it up and make that spare after you let the ball go, but it's unfortunate.
Isn't that the
That's
truth?
not the game, and you've just got to make every shot count.
Billy, one question we get from viewers. Just how many games per day does a professional bowl in order to keep in tip-top shape?
We average about 20, 25 games a day, Chris. Practice
You do?
throughout the year, yes.
What do you do in your spare time?
Well, we don't have too much spare time between playing the PBA Tour and doing the exhibitions and the practice sessions. It pretty well takes up about a 330-day year.
You know how I was impressed today? The fact that we had 2 newcomers in the semifinals, Bill Aziz and Bill Hartwig, which shows that the top name bowlers don't always get into this live telecast. You know, Dick Weber did finish 5th. Don Carter was down the line. You yourself, a lot of other.
Yes, with this type of format, Chris, the bowler can bowl very well, but run into someone that is a little bit hotter and shoot 680 or 690 and lose the match, and then, of course, he's out.
Billy, I want to show you a fine aspect of the PBA Tour, especially for those that are able to go to the windows of cash. As we look at this money standing, I want you to take a careful look at it, ladies and gentlemen. Now, this is only in, we're still in February, aren't we? And this is only the 6th stop on the PBA Tour. Now, Andy Marsich, Billy, has won 2 of our telecasts.
Right.
He's won $10,395. Now, there are very few golfers that can say that. And we go down the line, and Earl Johnson is there. And then Glenn Allison, by virtue of winning $5,000 a day, gives him that $7,075 total. And let's see, there's a name there, W-E-L-U. Hey, you're doing all right, Billy.
I certainly can't complain about that, even though you can't get the shot back after you let it go.
And we mentioned Jim St. John coming into this tournament had about $3,450, and with $2,500 more, he has done all right with a little more prize money. And Dennis Chappis, remember him? He was one that came out of the pack. And
I remember him very well, Chris.
And Dick Weber, Billy Golombiewski, J.B. Solomon, and the great Don Carter.
Don has been running into some tough luck, as we spoke about in these matches, losing by about 6 or 7 pins in his first match this morning.
And he was bitten by the virus bug in St. Louis, I know, last week. Having gone out, do you know Mom Carter?
Yes, I do.
We had a wonderful dinner with Mom and took a look at all of Don's trophies, the most fabulous thing I've ever seen.
He's got a whole room there just for trophies alone.
And a proud mother looking over them. Well, friends, we'll be right back with the winner of today's exciting tournament on Professional Bowlers Tour. And now a word from your Plymouth Valiant dealer.
Return to Riverside. For the 2nd year at the Riverside, California Test Course, Ford, Chevrolet, and Plymouth V8s meet in 10 official tests of all-around car capability. The cars are comparably equipped, and at Plymouth's request, every event in this showdown is sanctioned and conducted by an independent testing institute. Who wins the 0 to 60? Plymouth. Who wins the hill climb? Chevrolet. Who wins the quarter mile? Plymouth. Who wins the emergency stop? Ford. Who wins the kilometer? Plymouth. The 3 1/4 mile classic? Plymouth. Highway passing safety? Plymouth. City passing safety? Plymouth. The Go Stop Park test? Plymouth. And Plymouth even wins the economy run. Plymouth beats Ford and Chevrolet 8 times out of 10. Winning the safety passing tests, performance tests, handling test, and the economy run. And what other car has such terrific good looks? See it at your Plymouth dealers. Plymouth's on the move.
Ladies and gentlemen, here at on the approach of the Planet Bowl in Midwest City, Oklahoma, it's all over, except handing out a lot of money in this state, the Sooner State. And I hope you enjoyed the competition. And it was especially pleasing to see 2 somewhat newcomers come out of the pack and show extremely well. I know they're both disappointed, not finishing 1st or 2nd, but they did show us a lot of ability, especially the 21-year-old youngster from San Mateo, California, Well, I'm about to present a $1,000 check. How about a nice round of applause for Bill Hardwick? Morning, Bill. Here's the $1,000, and it was a real pleasure watching you compete.
Thank you very much, Chris. It was a pleasure being here.
Thank you. There's a modest young man. Now, from El Paso, Texas, and next week we go back to his state, to Dallas. Bill Aziz showed us a lot here today, too. Bill, nice going.
Thank you.
Is it a little warmer down in El Paso today, you think?
I hope so. When we left, it's snowing pretty bad.
Oh, it was. Well, you hope the snow's going when you get home. $12.50 will help buy a little wood for the fire if it is cold down there. And we hope that we'll see you next week at the Cotton Bowling Palace.
Thank you. Thank everybody here.
Very good. Bill Aziz. Now, a fellow that in the finals, I don't think too much went good for him. Apparently he's hungry because of the bucket here. Golly. Jim St. John, you have any explanation for what happened on those?
Well, Glenn bowled real good. I believe that I was bellying the ball just a little bit too much, and the speed I was throwing, and that was the result. More buckets than I can handle.
Yeah, it's more than anybody can handle.
But second place isn't too bad.
No, it isn't, as a matter of fact, because here's a check signed by Henry Brilliant for $2,500.
Thank you, Chris.
Nice going, Jimmy. Always a pleasure to watch you bowl.
Thank you.
Very good. Now, I doubt if we can ever get this fellow to keep statistics for us again, because I know he likes the sweet smell of success, bowling. He's a great statistician and a wonderful bowler, too, Glenn Allison. Glenn, nice going.
Thank you very much.
Now, let's see, Glenn, we could go back a little bit. This makes your, third PBA victory?
That's right, Chris. 3 of them now.
Boy, oh boy, and you're right up in the first 10, you know, the money earners.
Well, I just made it this week, I think.
Well, $5,000 got you right up near your friend Billy Whaley. And, of course, Andy Marsich is leading the pack with over $10,000, but another tournament will get you there, too, you know.
Well, I'd sure like to win another one, but these things kind of come as a surprise. I didn't feel like I was bowling well enough until this morning, and then everything started going fine for me, and then I got the breaks in the first match. So here I am.
Glenn, one of the facts about you, and I didn't realize it until you were bowling today, and looking at my bio of you, is the fact that in 1961 and 1962, you finished 4th both years on the amount of money won. And this, to me, is a sheer consistency.
Well, I think I bowled in more tournaments than anybody else.
Oh, come on. I know you're strong and ambitious. Of course, you got a family to feed. How many children now? I recall we had one not too long ago. We sweat that one out a little bit. And what was the city?
Well, let's see. I believe that was El Paso last year. And March 31st, my son will be 1 year old.
Oh, wonderful. That makes what?
That's 2.
2. All right. Well, now you've got 2 youngsters back there to help polish the trophies. And there's a beautiful one coming in here, carried by the president of Bowling Promotions Incorporated and the local tournament director, Henry Brilliant. Henry?
Thank you, Chris. Glenn, congratulations. You did a wonderful job, and, you know, we've known each other for quite a while, and it's really a pleasure to see you come through like this. Very proud of you. All the boys bowled very well, and as in all tournaments, there are winners and there's losers, and this time you came out on top, and I want to say thanks to all of the PBA for a wonderful job here in Oklahoma City. Thank you all.
Thank you very much, Henry.
Well, Henry, come here just a moment before you leave, and you're wearing that green jacket. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a brilliant red. Is that a Sooner red?
That's a Sooner red.
Bud Wilkinson would love that, see you wearing the colors of that fine school. We'd like to compliment you on the great organization of this particular Tournament of Stars. You always do a wonderful job, and it's nice always to come to Oklahoma.
Thank you very much, Chris. It's a pleasure having you, and it's teamwork, believe me. It's all teamwork. People here at Planet Bowl, all the proprietors, everyone. It's wonderful to put it on.
Okay, thanks. Thanks again, Henry Brilliant. Now, Glenn, you got a free hand?
I sure have.
All right, the free hand will be now filled by the first place prize money, $5,000.
Well, thanks again, Chris, and I have to take this up and give it to my team captain now, Billy Whaley.
Oh, you do? Oh, don't give it to him.
All I do is just look at it, and then I got to hand it to him.
Oh, I see. What about Mrs. Allison?
Well, she'll get her cut of it, too.
How many ways do you have to cut this up?
Well, when I get through cutting it up, there isn't much left for me.
Well, now that you're doing so well, that means that we can lower the fee on your being statistician. And I know that you hope that you'll never get back up there to work with us again. You'd rather be down here.
Especially if you're going to lower the fee.
We'd like to point out that Glenn is a native of California, but he's now bowling out of St. Louis, Missouri. And have a good trip to Dallas. We'll see you at the Cotton Bowling Palace in that great city. And again, Glenn, I want to shake that hand. You're a wonderful bowler and guy.
Thanks again, Coach.
Glenn Allison, ladies and gentlemen. There he goes with a big trophy, $5,000 check, and it couldn't certainly happen to a nicer guy. You know, the next stop on Professional Bowlers Tour is Dallas, Texas. And again, we'll bring you the semifinal and final matches of another great bowling tournament, the PBA Dallas Open. That's next Saturday afternoon from the Cotton Bowling Palace in Dallas, Texas, on the ABC television network. Our thanks to the Professional Bowlers Association and its fine executive director, Eddie Elias, and Henry Brilliant, president of Bowling Promotions Incorporated. Prize monies were furnished by the Professional Bowlers Association and Bowling Promotions Incorporated. The 1963 Professional Bowlers Tour, produced by Jim Colligan and directed by Jack Bluebell. Associate Director Joe Bush. Engineering Supervisor Chuck Buzzard. Technical Supervisor Glenn Danley. Our thanks to station KOCO-TV, Oklahoma City, for today's television pickup. And now this is Chris Schenkel in Midwest City, Oklahoma, saying so long for Billy Whalou and myself. Today's tournament on the 1963 Professional Bowlers Tour was brought to you by AMF, manufacturers of a complete line of bowling equipment and accessories. For the best in bowling, bowl where you see the magic triangle. AMF means the finest. And by today's Wheaties, the Big G for Goodness cereal. Goodness and crisp toasted whole wheat flakes. Wheaties, breakfast of champions.